Hi, welcome to this episode. My name's Sean Newman and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Terry Robinson. He's got an inspirational and very interesting story, how he's gone from earning £50,000 a year as a corporate estate agency manager to earning over £50,000 in a month as a self-employed partner agent. I hope you enjoy this episode. So Terry, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you.
You know I'm a big believer in this self-employed model, and today I just want to discuss your journey in estate agency because, you know, I believe with self-employed estate agency, it's just going to raise the standards in estate agency in the UK, and this model is probably used in every other country in the world, whether it's America or Australia, and you know, the estate agents over there are classed as professionals, they're seen as successful, high earners, high achievers, and got good reputations and respected. And I think in the UK that seems to be the exact opposite. And I think, you know, agents aren't paid enough. They've probably worked too hard and not getting the rewards they deserve. So what I'd like to do is just sort of discuss your story and your journey to help other people who've been on a similar journey and to see how what their thoughts are on this model. And it might not be right for everybody, but maybe we could start with just how you started an estate agency, you know, where and when and why.
I sort of fell into it. It was 2002 and I was actually living at home with parents. I was hoping to be a professional snooker player. I got a full-size table at home and I was working in a market research company. One of those annoying people that ring you at 6 o'clock at night when you're getting a dinner out, asking you to do a survey on cat food or something like that. That's what I was doing. And my parents announced they were divorcing. So I went out with my mum to look for houses. And I'd never had any thoughts of estate agency. I'd not done any sales. And I remember going to view this house with my mum, and this guy turns up, nice car, nice suit. And he opened the door and he said, go and help yourselves, have a look round. And even then I was like, 21? And I thought, God, I could do a better job than that. And my mum ended up offering on the house. And the guy got in his car and that was it. And I thought, God, that's really easy. And he's got a nice car, nice. Do you know what? I'm going to be an estate agent. And that was it. And that's how I got into that. And then I literally was looking for something and I ended up going into the corporate world at the end of 2002, which started just as sort of junior negotiator, doing some accompanied viewings and learning the ropes from there.
Okay, that sounds good. And what about the next step then? So what was your, you know, hopes about the future? You know, what were your aspirations in that career?
I think at the start, you know, it was, I think it's always relative to whatever level you're on. So I started as a trainee neg, and of course I'm thinking, well, I hope I get signed off and we get started and I can start selling some houses. The company I work with, I actually in my first month finished top out of 70 people, and I'd never done the job before, and it was amazing. And then the next month I finished about 10th out of 70 because I'd been let go and I didn't really know the area very well. The third month I finished about 40th, and the regional manager come down and said, if you're not in the top 3 next month, you're out. Wow. And I just thought, that's not for me. And I was a little bit, you know, I was living at home with mum and dad, money wasn't really an issue. And of course it was the wrong start, and I left there. And then I went from that extreme to the other, where I went to very sleepy estate agents. And I remember registering an applicant buyer, and he came in and he got a house to sell. And I asked this chap if he wanted an appraisal on his house. And he said he'd come back to us, and the owner of the company was in the office, and he'd give me a real going over for it, you know. And he said, if this guy wants an appraisal, he'll ask for it. We don't sell. And I was a little bit perhaps cocky at 21. And I just said, well, I'm not for you and you're not for me. And I walked out, and that was it. And then at that point, I then did have longevity with a lot of corporate, where I went from doing the negotiator role, valuing, then a sort of senior valuer, branch manager, and then running 2 offices then.
Wow.
Over like a 12-year period.
Wow. So your goal, what was that, your goal to be the manager?
Definitely. You know, I think when you're a negotiator, you want to be a valuer, and then you want to be the assistant manager, which, you know, looking back, it's basically that you get a bit more responsibility, but assistant managers always earn less than valuers normally in this world, and then managers seem to earn less than assistant managers. But my goal was to just get to running a branch. Yeah. And I got given a branch, and at the time I was happy, and then I got the opportunity to run 2. But it wasn't long before the sort of the fad of it and the excitement wore off pretty quick.
Okay, so what changed and why?
I think realistically, I was evaluating the fact that I was just always at work.
Yeah.
And as well as which I found in the corporate world with both organisations I was in, is that when you start becoming number one in what you do, if there's a month that you're not number one, you've had a terrible month. But there's a lot of people that wouldn't be number 2 or 3 every single month throughout the year. But the expectation just gets more and more and more. The pressure gets more and more. And looking back, really, the pay for it, for the pressure, the stress, no life out of work. And, it got to a point where Sunday nights, it was that feeling of when I was perhaps 14, dreading school the next day and wondering how I could get out of that on a Monday morning. I used to have that feeling going into work. And it just got to a point where the pressure was just so much and it just was not worth what I was really getting paid.
Yeah. And so what happened next?
Well, I started to feel that because I was running a couple of offices, I think the consensus was that I was sort of overachieving targets. I was getting paid too much. And I started to get the feeling that they wanted me out.
Right.
I also hated it as well. And I'd hated it for about a year. But I think it's that fear of the unknown. You think, well, if I leave this, what am I going to find that's better than this? And I went on holiday that year and I came back and it was just so bad. I actually never went back. So to me, I left with no job to go to. And
so you had a job, you had a good salary. What was the salary?
It was about 50,000 a year.
So it's a good salary, a comfortable job. Obviously, for anyone that's thinking about leaving a job, there's a lot of, I don't know, worry or concern. What were your fears? How did you feel about walking away?
Well, as soon as I realised I'd left, it was actually it was the best feeling ever.
Okay.
And I felt amazing. And then sort of on the evening, I remember thinking, oh shit, I've got no job now and I've got a mortgage to pay. And but actually, you start to realise that isn't everything. And at the time, that was all I was really earning. And I thought, well, I'll find something else. But then actually, when I was then looking in other corporate environments that were paying for managers, the pay was nothing like what I was on. And I'd have had to have gone to probably like a regional manager role, which again isn't me. I'm an estate agent. I want to sell houses and list houses and negotiate offers. And then, of course, the opportunity to come up to take, join the licence for Fine and Country. And it was then deciding that or the self-employed role.
Yeah. So when did we first meet then?
We met in May 2015.
Yeah. And so we would have had a chat and we'd have talked about a self-employed proposition. I actually remember that meeting very well, actually, because it was in my living room at home on my white sofa. And I remember asking you about, your goals. And for me, one of my parts of my role is to help agents achieve their goals, whether it's their income goals, whatever their definition of success is. And I like to know what people's goals are. And it'd be interesting to ask people, if they're in an employed role, does their boss know what their goals are? And I think most of the time that the answer is no, but I do know what our agents' goals are. And you told me what your goal was. You obviously remember it. So do you want to just share that, what your...
Yeah, you said to me, what's your biggest goal and what would you like to do that you've not been able to do? And it was to book a trip to stay at the Burj Al Arab in Dubai.
Yeah,
which
is a 7-star hotel and fly
7-star. They say world's most expensive hotel and classed as world's best hotel and all these things. I think the marketing of that got me intrigued, but probably from about the age of 22, 23, I'd always wanted to go. And very sadly, I've watched hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube of this hotel and imagining staying there and just looking at TripAdvisor reviews. I remember saying to you that if I could do anything, but obviously at the time, knowing how much it is for a 3-night stay there, it was never going to be in the equation, plodding along in the corporate world ever.
Well, let's come back to that later on.
Yeah.
So we had a chat. I talked to you about being a self-employed role. I can't remember. You probably went away to think about it, but what were you thinking at the time? There must have been, some concerns, and maybe you looked at other jobs as well.
There was some concerns that I think for me, I'd always been guaranteed a salary. And when I look back at the time, it's not just that I believed that I was in a safe job because you're employed. And it turned out that I wasn't because, I've seen this organisation moving loads of people on when it suited without worrying about whether they've got kids or, mortgages to pay. And so for me, there was a relief of that, but the concern was actually going to have zero salary. And for me, I'd got quite high outgoings at the time. And I was thinking, actually, some of these employed jobs I'd seen weren't even going to cover my outgoings anyway. You know, they were, by the standards back then, probably about $4,500 a month outgoings. So I knew I needed to earn at least that, plus enough to pay the tax to cover the outgoings. Yeah. So for me to go to a zero salary at the time was frightening.
Yeah.
And to consider doing it was frightening. Yeah. Obviously, the rest is history. But, you know, it didn't take me that long. I thought, well, actually, I'm a big believer in making changes, and it's probably the bravest step I ever did, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I can imagine there's a lot of managers now that are maybe feeling secure, but they might not know what's around the corner. And they might be thinking about doing it, but I can empathise with them that it would be quite a scary prospect if they've not done it. I
think it is very scary just to go into the unknown. But as more and more people are doing it, and hopefully seeing examples like you, you know, it gives people a bit more confidence. So what's life like now? Now, obviously, you've been self-employed, running your own business. How's life changed from back then?
It's almost impossible to remember what life was like back then. It's like I'm a different person. I can say that life is the best it's ever been. I think when you're in an environment where you are dreading work, you have bad days, you're going to go home, you're going to be fed up at home, and then that circle gets wider and wider, and you then go back into work fed up. Situation now is that the one thing I love about the self-employed role is that, you know, I can knock off at 2:00 on a Wednesday to have the afternoon with my kids when I get them and I have them for my time from school. You know, I can just, you know, if my fiance wants to go out to the park with the dogs and her children, because, you know, we all live together, and that's really, really good. And that's the most important thing, which I will put first. I think from the monetary side of it, it's given me so much freedom. There's been things that I've wanted to do, things I wanted to experience, and, you know, the big one is that I've booked the trip to the Burj Al Arab now.
Brilliant.
So I'm looking forward to that. Should have gone, but waiting, because obviously it's been delayed because of COVID. But
brilliant. You know, and that gives me so much sort of satisfaction, seeing you do well, achieve your goals, and seeing you change as a person. I think you said to me the other day that you saw your dad the other day, and he'd sort of seen you where you were and where you are now, and you know, the difference it's made. So it's great to see. So life's good. Tell me, what about the role? So the role of being an estate agent in your corporate role, being a manager, running a business, or in fact having to manage other people, to where you are now. And what are the main differences?
I think the huge difference is that when you are a manager of an estate agent, you're not an estate agent. That's the bottom line. You know, you're doing meetings, you're filling forms out, returns all the while. You've got to hire and fire. You've got to, you know. And I remember having to sit and write the commission structure for the following year, and I had to write it in a way that nobody would ever earn over a certain monetary amount.
Right.
And I just think, wow, looking back now, now we're in a situation where I can decide what I want to earn. Yeah. And so can anybody else that wants to go self-employed. You know, you've got to be dedicated. You've got to have self-confidence, but you've also got to have, you know, you've got to be sort of have a lot of get up and go. You know, if you join this and you don't commit to what you need to do, it won't work. But if you do, the fruits are amazing. And the difference now is that all I really do is I go out and list houses, which is something that I get the same buzz out of doing today that I did when I listed my first house in 2003. I get the same buzz every time. Negotiating offers. I was at a theme park 2 Sundays ago, and I negotiated a sale at the theme park. Well, that was great, and I really enjoyed it. And I got satisfaction for doing that. You know, just negotiating, but also looking after our clients, providing the best service that we can. I only tend to deal with 12, 15 clients at any one time.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to get hold of them, you know, and my clients know if they need to ring me on a Sunday, they ring me on a Sunday. And that's the way we work, you know. And like last night, I was actually doing some prospecting at about 10 o'clock last night. But then equally, as I've said, if I want to clock off at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday to pick my kids up, have some time with them at the park, you never ever get that in the corporate world.
So you're in control of your own diary as well. You booking your appointments in when you want. It suits you. And what about income? I guess you're happy with your income at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was something I spoke to our accounts department earlier today, and I said that you were coming in, and some people may, well, you obviously know, but some people watching or listening to this may know that we have a 10K club and a 20K club for people based on what they earn in a particular month. That's sort of personal take-home commission. And I know you're in the 30K club, and then recently you've been in the 40K club. But I've just found out how much you're going to earn at the end of this month. So I just wanted to give you this certificate to say congratulations. So you're now a member of our 50K club, and that's a fantastic achievement. And how does that feel?
Fantastic. Well, that's really a year's wages in the corporate world.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
where you would have been, as a manager or area manager for that office at 50 grand. So you're now earning that a month. So that's an incredible achievement. A lot of people find it hard to even believe that's possible, but the sky's the limit, it really is. And it is down to the agent, what they put in. So what I'd like to do in another chat is discuss how you achieve that and what you do and how you work. So stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll discuss that. But really just coming on about the journey and where you are now, what sort of advice would you give to someone that's considering this move from being an employee in a comfortable role, maybe a guaranteed salary, where I guess I'm looking for the word is that security of an employed role, compared to going into the world of unknown? And but what would you say to them?
I remember when we'd first met, and I spoke to a few other self-employed people.
Right.
And they said to me that they knew me from being in the corporate world in Leamington, and said, "We know you're really good. You've got to join."
Right.
And it wasn't that advice that I took. It was having met you and thought about it that I decided I would go for this. But that advice really helped. Yeah. But I was still quite scared about it. Now I can give this advice, but people might think, "Oh, I don't know what to do." I would say that they need to at least explore it, because I think that, if you want to do the same thing every week, earn the same every week, and life be the same every week, it's security. But equally in corporate world, as I learned, jobs aren't always secure. I can't recommend it enough. I think for anyone that wants to have their own destiny of what they want to earn, have some freedom, have some flexibility to work for themselves, work at 10 o'clock at night and then take a day off, and do whatever they want. You're getting what you put, you get out what you put in. Yeah. I would say if there's anybody teetering on the edge, my message is I've been there. And there is always, for anyone, the fear of the unknown. I would certainly say explore it, because for me, it's been beyond life-changing, and I'm looking at the next goals now that I want to achieve. Yeah. And for anybody there, that's, hopefully will inspire people that that's possible. Yeah. I would say do it. Really, really, entertain the thought of going for it. Look into it first. Don't dismiss it. At least look into it. Yeah,
that's good advice. Just do the research. It's not for everyone, and it might not be for you, but talk to, and that's a good thing, talk to some self-employed agents that are already doing it. Yeah. And obviously they can follow you on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, message you, or any other self-employed or partner agents, just to find out the good and the bad. And it's not all rosy. There's hard work and there's late nights, and it's not all easy. But, just comparing the normal employed role where someone else is telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. You've got to turn up at a certain time. You're told what's going in your diary. I guess you choose when you do appointments, which even clients you use. If you don't want to put a house on the market and you don't like the owner, or you can just...
We're very blessed with that, because, and I know you're a big advocate of this as well, if I go to a house and the owners aren't motivated, and I think we've both got to get on and click. Yeah. And I think if that's not there, and let's say they want too much money for it and they're not prepared to pay the fee you deserve, you walk away. And that's where it might be tempting not to do that, because I've got to get that listing. But we're not in the corporate world. You pick your business, you work with the business you want, and as long as that business comes through, you can continue to do that. Yeah,
that's good. And it's interesting, you talked about earlier the fact that you were trying to create this commission structure where people didn't earn, or they earned less money. It's funny, in this environment, what we're looking to do is help you earn more money. That's my role, is to help you achieve your financial goals, income goals. And people say to me, this is what I want to earn. And I say, well, let's put a plan together and make it happen. So it's funny how one business model is trying to pay people less and this business model is trying to pay people more. But you've also had some successes recently with winning some competitions and holidays. What trips have you won? And
well, there was 2 trips up for grabs for figures of last year, and one was a holiday in Venice, which was for the most listings exchanged, and one was for the most sales exchanged, which was a trip to New York. And I won them both. Yeah,
brilliant.
Felt really bad about it.
But unfortunately, you haven't been able to take the trip to New York yet.
That's at the end of the year.
So what trips have you got lined up now? What's life like for travel at the moment? I know obviously we've got COVID restrictions on travel, but what trips have you got planned for the future?
Wow. So between now and Christmas, I've got the Burj Al Arab in Dubai.
Yeah.
There's a hotel called the Balmoral in Edinburgh, which is... They say it's one of the world's best hotels. Yeah. That's something I'd never done in the corporate world. That's booked as well this year. I've got 2 weeks in the Maldives booked, and New York.
Yeah.
Just call me Judith Chalmers.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the nice thing. You've got flexibility to go on holiday when you want, where you want. What about family life? How's your relationship with your fiance, your kids, dogs? What's life like on a personal level, not just work?
Personally, it's better than ever. And, I go to work happy. I think I've probably been able to say to my fiance in the 18 months we've lived together, 2 days I've probably out of 18 months, oh, what a shit day today. This happened, and something's gone wrong. But again, not that there's a nasty manager having a go at you, just things that happen, and they're always going to happen. But to have
like a sale falling through,
or a client that was going to use you, and you've got stuff prepared, and you see it's gone on with someone else. They never talk. Things that just really I take personally because I'm so passionate.
Yeah.
Probably 2 days out of 500 working days, I've come home and been a bit. But to come home on all the other days and feel really happy, that then impacts the evening that you have at home. And I've got an amazing relationship with my fiance, who I adore, and my relationship with my 2 children is the best it's ever been. We've now added that with, as you say, 2 mad dogs. But it's just brilliant. Life's good. We can have that freedom, that flexibility. But I think if you go to work unhappy and you dread work, you're not going to be in the best of sorts when you get home. And to be able to go to work feeling so good, to enjoy work as much as I do, as like we all like to do the charity work as well. That's another conversation probably, but I get a lot of satisfaction out of that, given some of what I earn to the charities. Things make you feel good and helping people, and then you get home and you feel good at home, and the kids see that, and everyone, it's a nice atmosphere.
Sounds amazing. And people might see this 50k club and that you're earning a lot of money, and they'll say, oh, I'm not motivated by money, or money doesn't buy you happiness. But as you just mentioned, it's not just about the money, it's everything else, the role that you're doing, the results you get for your clients, the relationships you're having, you're happier and healthier and looking well. And, and the money is nice to have. It's the icing on the cake, and you deserve it. You do a great job and get some great results for your clients. You deserve to be paid well. And that's one of the problems with the estate agency today, is that generally they don't do a great job. I hope that doesn't offend many people, but it's true. It's in comparison to other countries in the world. But you do a great job, and you deserve to be paid well. And I don't even think you probably do it for the money, do you? I mean, ultimately we all go to work for money, but
we do. And there's been nice things I've been able to do as a result of that. But I think, to be honest with you, if I got a call tomorrow from a corporate organisation guaranteeing me 70 grand a month to go to the corporate world, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
Money's great and I love it, and it's nice to do things and to treat other people. But the most important thing is having some happiness at home and a nice environment, and just feeling good in yourself.
Yeah. No, it's a fascinating story, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us. And hopefully that inspires other people to do a similar thing and just shows what's possible. And I'd hate to think of anyone sitting in a job that they're not happy in, working the hours they're not happy with, not earning enough money. And, if you're not happy at work and you're not earning enough money, that will have an effect on relationships. I mean, if you think about some people's relationships, often the problems are caused by a lack of money, or the person's working too hard and too long. So just having that flexibility and having the finances, I just think makes a big difference in the world. So so congratulations. I'm really pleased for you. It's been an amazing to watch your journey and see you just get better and better. And as you say, the two words that you use and most people use is life-changing. And what I'd like to do after this is talk to you about how you get these results, because they're phenomenal results. And I think a lot of people would be interested to know, well, how does he do it? What does he do? So if you're happy to discuss and share some of those, we can have that in the next episode. Thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate it. All the best.
Cheers.
So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like more information about becoming a self-employed estate agent, I will add a link in the description. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.